Hey, you. Do you own an axolotl tank, but you're not quite sure which species are the best tank mates for these adorable amphibians? Well, in this video, we're gonna take a look at the 5 best and 4 worst tank mates for your axolotl. Let's take a look at the best tank mates for your walking fish. Starting off with number 1, other axolotls. Adult axolotls can be kept together in the same tank, preferably a male and a female, and to prevent potential breeding, learn how to differentiate males and females by examining the cloaca area. It's advised not to keep smaller or juvenile axolotls with mature ones due to potential cannibalistic behavior. Yikes. If issues arise though, consider separating axolotls into separate tanks, with 1 axolotl per tank being the optimal arrangement. White cloud mountain minnows are calm, cool water fish that can be great tank mates for your axolotls. The lack of spines and shells won't harm axolotls if eaten, although we definitely don't want that to happen. And so axolotls might see minnows as prey, which could lead to predatory behavior, so keeping them in separate tanks might be wise, but since minnows are fast moving, they should be good in the same tank as axolotls. They are at risk of getting eaten, but generally they're not going to get caught unless the fish is injured, sick, or caught off guard. Guppies are generally safe for axolotls, though they're more likely to be eaten than minnows. Guppy fry are commonly used as feeders for axolotls as they're small and generally pose no health risk to juvenile axolotls when eaten. Due to their rapid reproduction, guppies can quickly increase in number, potentially stressing axolotls despite being an easy snack. Zebra Danios are excellent cool water fish that are peaceful and tend to stick to their groups, generally avoiding your axolotl. However, you might still notice them occasionally disappearing. Thankfully, their agility gives them a good chance in an axolotl tank. Yet, their ability to swim doesn't guarantee they won't occasionally be caught off guard by axolotls. Adult apple snails are good tank mates for young axolotls mainly because of their size. They're just too big to be eaten. Young bladder or ram's horn snails are also safe for axolotls for their soft shells. Adult ram's horns and bladders do pose a risk though, as they're small enough to be swallowed but not soft enough to be fully digested. If you do choose to keep snails, avoid miniature snails and opt for adult apple snails instead. Multiple snails can also cause problems as they might climb on axolotls and potentially harm them by sucking off their slime coats. We've listed species that might work. Let's look at fish species you should avoid next, starting with the goldfish. Goldfish are often suggested as axolotl tank mates due to their cold water preference, but I wouldn't recommend them as they can nip at the axolotl's fins, which causes stress and injury. Even fancy goldfish, which are slow moving, might pose a choking hazard when small. It's better to choose other suitable tank mate options or use a very large tank to manage waste if pairing them together. These peaceful critters, despite their temperament, are not good tank mates for axolotls. Their bodies have sharp spines on their dorsal and pectoral fins that will injure your axolotl if they try to swallow them. They're also bottom feeders, which makes them a direct competition with axolotls when it comes to meal times. The Otocinclus Catfish may look harmless, but like the Cory Catfish, their bodies have spines that can harm your axolotl, and they prefer fast-moving water and are also fast-moving creatures. These opposing characteristics make them an unsuitable tank mate candidate for axolotls. Freshwater shrimp are not ideal for these tanks. They're considered feed by many owners. They're basically food for the axolotls, so unless they have good hiding spots, it'd probably be best to keep them in another tank. Ghosts and amanos are good additions as they clean up leftovers and help water parameters in your aquarium maintained at a stable level. If that's your intention, then be prepared for them to become axolotl snacks. Since axolotls have a good sense of smell, these shrimp may not even be safe in dense plant cover. Alright, now that you know which fish can work and which ones don't, let's talk about axolotls themselves. Here are some things you need to understand about your pet. These amphibians are freshwater aquatic salamanders known for their very introverted nature. They prefer to be solitary in a slow-moving water environment. Despite being carnivorous, they're peaceful, nocturnal, and slow-moving creatures. Their cold water habitat limits their compatibility with many popular freshwater species. Now let's talk about what makes a good tank mate for an axolotl. When considering turning your axolotl tank into a community one, it's important to choose peaceful fish that are adapted to cool water and big enough not to be eaten by your axolotl. Tank mates should also probably be fast enough to escape, as axolotls might try to hunt them as a form of play. If issues continue, it's advisable to keep freshwater fish in a separate tank. Not every fish species is compatible with axolotls, and here's why. First off, water temperature. Since axolotls have a preference for cooler waters, tropical fish species are already out of the question. An aquarium chiller can be helpful in keeping the water cool. Temperament. Aggressive and territorial species spells trouble. Trouble. Harassment and injuries may happen to axolotls if paired with these species. Active swimmers can also be incompatible as their movements can cause a lot of stress to your axolotl. Next, health risks. Species like Cory Catfish can pose some health risks. For example, their sharp spines on their fins can cause injury to the axolotl if it tries to eat them. Small fish and mini snails can also be a choking hazard and lead to impaction. Plus, some fish may also carry diseases. And finally, direct competition. Axolotls shouldn't be housed with other bottom dwellers as this may cause some form of territorial dispute among species. They can also be bullied because axolotls are slow eaters. Other species might end up just stealing all their food, and they might outcompete the axolotls during feeding times. A community tank setup is quite simple, so here are some things to keep in mind. First up, the aquarium setup. The minimum tank size for an adult axolotl is 20 gallons, but 2 adults and other fish would require you to have a 55-gallon tank. Axolotls thrive in bigger spaces, so it might be best to invest in a spacious tank. Next, substrate. Sand is the ideal substrate for these types of community tanks, as they enjoy digging. Plus, that's going to provide them with more to do than just bother their other tank mates. Water parameters for the aquarium. Axolotls have specific requirements for their tank. It's essential for potential tank mates to share these preferences. It's recommended to compare the water parameters needed for axolotls with those required by selected tank mates. And those parameters are things like water temperature. Cold water is a must. You gotta keep the temperature in the range of 59 to 73 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 15 to 23 degrees Celsius. The ideal temperature is between 60 and 64 degrees Fahrenheit, or 16 to 18 degrees Celsius. And pH. Axolotls prefer a pH in the range of 6.5 to 8.0, with the ideal pH for this species being 7.4 to 7.6. Your GH needs to be 125 to 250 ppm, or 7 to 14 DGH. Your KH needs to fall between 53 to 143 ppm, or 3 to 8 DKH. Your ammonia, or NH3, needs to be 0 ppm, or parts per million. Nitrite also needs to be 0 ppm, and nitrate needs to be under 60 parts per million. Next up, filtration. Whether in larval or adult form, axolotl tanks need a good filtration system and slow-moving water. Sponge filters are preferred by owners as they circulate water effectively without creating excessive flow. And this is pretty crucial for the messy axolotl. Tank mates should also be compatible with this setup. Let's talk decor considerations. One important thing to consider always is that you should have ample hiding spots for your axolotl. They prefer to hide away from light, so things like driftwood, rocks, hides, or plants are preferable to create a variety of hiding options for your tank inhabitant. And those other potential tank mates also need to feel relaxed and safe. And speaking of light, let's talk lighting. Other tank mates for your axolotl should prefer a dimly lit environment for a harmonious community setup. If you're planning to get fish that prefer well-lit conditions, ensure that there are dark hiding spots for axolotls in your tank. Ensure that you've done your due diligence before adding tank mates to your axolotl, as only a few fish species can coexist safely. Despite the risks, here are some suitable options, and this very channel has multiple videos covering several of these picks for visual learners. And that's pretty much it for our 5 best and 4 worst axolotl tank mates. Since finding a good companion for these creatures can be quite difficult, it's good to do some research to determine the best tank mate for your amphibian. We hope this video has also been helpful to you, so if you enjoyed it, please like, subscribe, and click the bell icon to be updated with our latest videos. Also, check out our website for everything and anything aquarium hobby related. Or better yet, check out the next video to your right. Till the next time, we'll see you soon.